Welcome. Today, we're stepping into a truly unique world, one that I think will really challenge many of our assumptions about, well, communication in society itself.
Mm.
We're going to explore a place where silence isn't just, the absence of noise. It's actually a profound form of communication.
Right. And secrets are like currency.
Exactly. And the land itself, it feels like it remembers more than anyone actually says out loud.
Yeah, and for this deep dive, we've pulled together this really extraordinary collection of insights into this culture. They're known as Rovara.
Rovara. Okay.
And our mission really is to unpack the intricate layers of their identity, to try and understand how their core philosophy shapes everything.
And that philosophy is?
That some truths are only safe in silence. It touches every single facet of their lives.
Oh.
From their unique landscape, their hidden political structures, even their spiritual practices. It's not just about facts. It's about grasping a completely different way of existing.
Okay, so to really get a handle on Rovara, we have to start with the land itself, right? The geography seems key.
Absolute foundation.
We're talking about a pretty significant area, 15,400 square miles up in the northwest. And the terrain is, well, unique is putting it mildly. Imagine wild, mixed forests that slowly shift into arid scrub and these rocky badlands.
Right.
And all of it punctuated by sacred springs and these sort of meandering streams.
And the climate plays a huge role, too. Temperate to semi-arid, but with these really sharp microclimates.
So you get mysterious foggy forests right next to, dry badlands.
Exactly. And heavy spring mists that are almost legendary. This environment isn't just a backdrop. It actively shapes Rovaran life.
How so? Like with the plants and animals?
Precisely. Think about the flora. You've got whisperwood, these gnarled blackbark trees that are said to creak like human voices in the wind.
Creepy.
Yeah. And gloom fern, which has these bioluminescent fronds, but only near the sacred springs. And the fauna are just as integrated. Night stags, for instance. Dark-coated deer, but they say they have glowing eyes, believed to be spirit-bound.
Glowing eyes. Seriously.
That's the lore. And then there are hollow owls, nocturnal birds rumored to mimic voices they overhear.
Whoa.
So for Rovarans, these aren't just, plants and animals. They're woven deep into their folklore, their identity, always reinforcing that emphasis on silence, on hidden things.
That makes sense, that deeply mystical environment. It must just seep into everything they do, everything they build.
It absolutely does.
So when it comes to their architecture, how does that reverence for silence, for hidden things, show up? Are their homes built to be quiet or maybe hidden?
Both, really. You see it everywhere. In the forests, their structures are often these moss-covered stone ruins or crooked wooden cabins. They almost vanish into the trees.
Blending in?
Right. But then you go into the wastelands and the architecture shifts. It's more sun-bleached skeletal structures, almost like nature's reclaiming them. They use raised wooden boardwalks a lot over the marshy ground, lots of carved symbols everywhere, only natural materials, and the colors are always muted, earthy.
What kind of feel does it have?
Yeah.
Visually?
It's definitely got echoes of maybe Witcher's Velen, a bit of Slavic folklore feel, maybe some Appalachian cabin vibes, all designed to just recede, to be quiet in the landscape.
And it's pretty remarkable how this connection to the land carries over into something as basic as food.
Oh, definitely.
Tell us about the flavors, but more importantly, how does that whole silence philosophy impact eating?
Okay, yeah, food is where this whole silence thing gets really interesting. Local dishes. You've got spring root stew, slow-cooked roots, game meat, very hearty.
Sounds good.
And mist cakes. They're these flat griddle cakes made with, get this, moss flour and something called gloom eggs. Get them right at dawn, usually.
Moss flour.
Okay. There's also ass broth, a dark herbal soup, brewed in sacred groves, usually for rituals or when someone's sick. And nightberry wine, this deep purple liqueur they make in forest stills.
What do they grow, mainly?
Core crops are things like hearthroot and saltbrush, but they forage a lot too. Whisperwood sap, glowcap fungi. The flavors are earthy, smoky, sometimes bittersweet, lots of herbs, sometimes mist-steamed.
Right.
But here's the crucial part. Food is deeply tied to ritual and memory, and it's almost always eaten communally and in silence.
Wow. Just imagine that. Whole family meal, nobody talking.
Yeah.
How does that change things? The family bond, even how you taste the food. It must force a totally different kind of focus.
It absolutely changes it, profoundly. Silence becomes this form of like heightened awareness. You're not distracted by chatter. You're fully present. With the food, the people, the sounds of the forest around you maybe, it fosters this different kind of connection based on shared presence, unspoken understanding, not words. It really deepens that core belief they have, that true understanding often lies beyond language.
That's a fascinating insight. Okay, moving to their clothing. What do Rovarans wear day to day? Does it also reflect this quiet, nature-bound culture?
For sure. Everyday wear is practical, blends in, earth-toned cloaks, asymmetrical tunics, layers of linen, and bark-dyed wool.
Factual stuff.
Yeah, very practical. Hooded shawls against the mist, oilskin belts that often have little talismans hanging off them, fabrics that blend into the forest, sometimes even with herbs sewn into the seams.
Herbs sewn in. Wow.
Yeah, for protection or scent, or maybe just tradition, but it's the ceremonial attire that really stands out.
Okay.
Bone or stone masks, carved, ancient, passed down through generations.
The actual masks.
Yes. And these shadow-dyed robes stitched with family glyphs, very symbolic. And for certain rites, they wear these crowns made of like gloom fern and soot rush.
Wow, so these aren't just clothes. They're like extensions of their identity.
Exactly. Their history, their connection to the ancestors, the land, it's all there.
And their music. I'm guessing it's not, pop anthems.
Definitely not. It reflects that same deep, resonant, quiet world. Genres include things like ancestral chanting, something called whisper folk, dirges. Echo string instrumentals are big.
What does it sound like?
Often characterized by ambient droning sounds, natural resonance tones. They use instruments made from hollow reeds, whistle flutes, throat drums, harps made from antlers, wind chimes made from old bones.
Bone wind chimes. Okay.
Yeah. And the themes in the music, always circling back to death and renewal, hidden truths, ancestral memory, and of course, silence as reverence. It ties directly back to that core philosophy.
It's not about performance then.
Less about performance, more about resonance, echo, finding the stories within the quiet.
And it sounds like their language itself just embodies this. Can you give us a feel for their mottos, maybe some unique phrases?
Oh yeah, their mottos are powerful, really capture their worldview. Some truths are only safe in silence. That's the big one.
Right.
Also, we do not lose what the land remembers, and stillness speaks louder than echoes.
Heavy stuff.
Definitely. And their slang is just as evocative. If someone's lost in thought or maybe protecting a secret, they might say they're fog-bound.
Fog-bound. I like that.
Yeah. Or someone marked for a spiritual journey might be called owl-called, and a hollow song. That's like a half-truth or a lie told for protection.
It's all about the layers, isn't it? What's not said.
Exactly. It's all about the unspoken meaning.
Which brings up a huge question.
Yeah.
How does a society built on silence and secrets actually organize itself? It sounds like a total inversion of how most places work.
It really is.
I mean, a system where status comes from secrets and wealth doesn't matter. Is that stable? Or are there subtle power plays?
That's a crucial point. Rovaran society completely lacks formal hierarchies based on, wealth or titles. Status is measured by the secrets you're entrusted with. They call it the circle of holding.
Circle of holding.
The more significant the truths you guard spiritually, socially, the higher your sort of quiet esteem.
Does it cause problems? Betrayals?
It can. If someone tries to force a secret or if discretion is betrayed, that's catastrophic. Reputational damage in Rovara is way worse than any physical punishment.
Okay, so how is it structured then, loosely?
There are these three unspoken but understood social layers. You have the misheld. They're the elders, carrying the oldest truths, seen as living memory.
Right.
Then the keepers, mid-level folks, managing communal knowledge, trades, mentoring.
Okay.
And finally, the wandering. That's youth, newcomers, outsiders. They have to prove their discretion before they're really told anything important.
And wealth.
Totally irrelevant, seen as a burden almost. Unless it serves a memory or a craft or a spirit. Hoarding is taboo. What isn't shared just fades.
That's fascinating. And their family structure is different too, right? These shadow lines.
Yeah, equally distinctive. Fluid, clan-based groups called shadow lines, and they trace lineage through memory and ritual, not just blood.
So adoption, spiritual bonds, they count as much as genetics.
Exactly. As binding, if not more so. Your family isn't just who you're born to, it's who you share truths and experiences with. It broadens the whole concept.
And how are secrets passed down safely then?
through this system,
Mhm.
relies on deep connection, shared history. And within these shadow lines, women, especially matriarchs, elder daughters,
Yeah.
they often take on this vital role, mothers and memory keepers.
Living archives.
Pretty much. Preserving the story songs, the mask rites, burial customs, keeping the collective memory alive and vibrant.
And their coming-of-age ceremony, the Fog Watch.
Yeah.
That sounds like it perfectly captures this focus on individual secrets.
It really does. It's transformative. At 13, every kid spends a night alone near the Silent Springs.
Alone, all night.
All night. And whatever they experience, see, hear, dream, that becomes their life's first kept secret, never spoken aloud,
Wow.
they come back changed. And they're never called by their birth name again in formal rites. It deeply integrates secrecy into growing up, into their identity. It's about discovering something just for you. Strengthens their discretion.
It really is all about what's not said.
Yeah.
Which leads us to their core customs, the big one. Silence is communication. How does that actually work day to day? How is silence respectful?
Well, long, comfortable silences are just normal.
No.
During meals, walking together, working on something sacred, it's not awkward for them.
We'd find that weird.
We probably would. But for Rovarans, it's a profound form of respect. It shows you're truly present, listening not just for words, but for deeper meaning. It's the space where spirits might speak or insights arise.
Mm-hmm.
Another huge custom is masking for rites. During festivals, funerals, everyone wears their ancestral mask, or one they carved. It represents the self they show to the spirits, emphasizes the inner world over the outer appearance.
And then there's shadow gifting. That sounds lovely. How does that work?
It's really poignant. Instead of public birthdays or big gift exchanges, Rovarans leave small, handmade tokens for each other in hidden places.
Hidden.
Yeah, like tucked into a tree hollow or under a specific stone. The gift silently says, I know you. I see you, even if I never say it. It's very intimate, values discretion, that quiet understanding.
That's beautiful. And the morning feast.
Also very moving. After a death, there's no big eulogy. Instead, they hold a silent feast at sunset. Only the deceased's favorite dish is served. Nothing else.
Just silence and that one dish.
Right, and afterwards, just one person whispers one story about the deceased into the forest. A private farewell. The land bears witness. It honors memory and grief in that uniquely Rovaran way, quietly, reverently.
Okay, so if a society's identity is literally protected secrets, how on earth is it governed? No visible capital, no known leaders, consensus through absence. It sounds almost impossible.
It's certainly radical. It challenges everything we think about governance. Rovara has no visible government like we'd recognize.
So who's in charge?
It's governed by this hidden network of elders, collectively known as the Silent Conclave.
Silent conclave.
They don't meet in public, no formal votes. They communicate through signs, omens, maybe coded messages. Most people don't even know who all the elders are.
Yeah,
It's a feature, not a bug. Designed to prevent outside influence or internal power grabs. There's no capital city, no throne. Leadership is spread out. Shrines, springs, sacred groves are important places.
Now, how do they make decisions? Consensus through absence.
Exactly. If a proposal is made through some ritual means and no dissent is heard or signaled after a certain time, it becomes custom. Rulings might be carved in stone or written in invisible ink, then sung into memory by local clerics, the weave keepers.
How does it not fall apart?
It works because the whole society is built on this deep, internalized trust and a shared commitment to discretion. It's philosophical.
That reliance on implicit understanding is fascinating. Tell me more about things like spiritual custodianship and that right of vanishing. How do you even rise in power if being unseen is valued?
Well, spiritual custodianship means leadership is tied to religious duty. You generally have to have served as a warden of the mist, shown that deep connection to the land and spirits before you'd even be considered for the conclave. It's not about ambition. And the rite of vanishing is maybe the most unique part. When leaders retire, they don't get parades. They undergo a ritual erasure.
Erasure.
Their name isn't spoken aloud anymore. Their face mask is sealed away in a vault. It's the highest honor to become one with the fog. Just dissolving into collective memory, not clinging to individual fame.
Incredible. So power is inherited through trust.
Often, yes. In these hidden hierarchies, a youth trained in secret by an elder might eventually speak with their voice on some matter, and people listen not to who is speaking, but to the tone of silence that follows, the weight of the words.
Despite this hidden structure, do different groups or factions emerge?
Yes, definitely. Informal but distinct groupings. You've got the Weave Keepers. They're like a guild of memory singers, recorders. You need their favor to make a law stick long term. Their memory is the law.
Okay.
Then there are the Ashringers. They're the scary ones. Masked, spectral judges handling the really harsh stuff. Exile, sacred betrayal, desecrating the forest. Their rulings are rarely questioned.
And anyone more public?
The Rooted Kin. They're the most visible. A cooperative of clan leaders, herbal mystics. They advocate for forest protection, food sovereignty, keeping balance in leadership. Each group has its function.
With no police force? How do they maintain order? What stops it being chaos? And what exactly is sacred exile?
Right, no cops. Justice is local, symbolic, often through community rights or exile or just silence. Reputational damage is the real deterrent.
So how do they handle disputes?
Minor stuff. Through the ritual of redress. It's like a ritual reenactment of the harm done, witnessed by everyone, aims for real understanding, restoring balance.
And major crimes?
That's where sacred exile comes in, or fog sending. The person is exiled after this ritual where nobody looks at them as they leave.
Nobody look at them.
Nope, they become unseen until or unless they somehow earn forgiveness, which could take years or never happen. It's a profound social and spiritual death sentence, basically. Keeps harmony through the threat of total isolation.
Their economy sounds like another complete flip. Prized exports aren't things, but memory craft and herbal lore. How does that even work?
It's utterly unique. Their big exports aren't mass-produced goods. It's memory craft and herbal lore. Remedies, rituals, relics, preserved through tradition. Highly controlled, intentionally limited.
So like rare ingredients or scrolls.
Yeah. Ritual dyes, mist-distilled oils, fog-stored scrolls, only traded with outsiders deemed respectful. They also export spirit-craft artifacts, glow-cap fungi, gloom fern tinctures, ancestral wines, gathered under specific moons, exported in special enchanted containers. They carry the place's energy.
Anything more tangible?
There's hidden masonry in wards, a quiet artisan tradition, silent construction techniques. Their work is subtly integrated into structures far beyond Rovara, apparently.
And their currency, these echo weights, sounds abstract. What are they?
They're not coins. They're weighted talismans engraved with ancestral glyphs. You earn them through recognized rights or contributions to cultural memory.
So value is tied to reputation.
Exactly. Not just trade value. Losing one through dishonor is a huge public shame. Marks you as having failed the collective. Outsiders rarely hold them. Barter and ritual trade are more common for external exchange.
And contracts, silence bonds.
Yeah, contracts often sealed without words. Using silence bonds could be specific gestures, smoke patterns, binding rights with special cloth or mist water, considered more binding than any parchment.
What's the philosophy behind all this?
It's summed up by their saying, "The land gives only what you forget to ask for." They think abundance breeds carelessness. So the economy is intentionally kept sort of undermeasured, traded through trust, timing, silence. Scarcity for them is spiritual insulation.
Meaning?
Flooding the world with Rovaran goods would be like leaking its soul. They protect their essence by not oversharing it.
Okay, shifting to spirituality. They don't worship gods like we think of them, but echoed presences. How is that different? What's the still voice?
It's very internal, very experiential. They venerate these echoed presences, spirits tied to places, memories, moments of insight, not really personified gods.
Like forces?
Sort of. The still voice is the divine source of insight found in silence, believed to speak clearest in grief or at dusk or in fog.
Oh.
Then there's the root below, a kind of earth force tied to ancestry, burial grounds, hidden truths, worshipped with offerings placed directly in the soil, and the fog watchers, ambiguous sentinels in the mist, said to guide or warn, but neither good nor evil, just perceptive.
So it's about interpreting patterns.
Exactly. Interpreted through personal experience. Rovaran spirituality is about perception, presence, preservation, not dogma.
Their clergy must be different too then. Whisper keepers, ancestor readers.
Yeah.
How do they guide people without preaching?
Totally different. Instead of priests, they have whisper keepers. They're wandering lore holders. They never preach. They just listen, observe, and maybe help translate the silence.
Translate the silence.
Help others find insights within themselves, not give them answers. Then you have ancestor readers, elders trained to interpret the glyphs, the omens in the fog, memory echoes. They guide choices through these chantless rituals.
Right.
Yeah, the congregation joins in breath or gesture, not sound. Their rituals are profound too. Fog fasting, going alone into the mist for answers, ash binding, mixing loved ones' ashes with resin for sigils,
Wow.
and echo passing, a sacred story given to a 13-year-old guarded their whole life, passed on only at death. Even weddings are silent weddings, vows made through woven cloth, touch, no spoken words.
They really live this ethos in every single way. Festivals must be just as unique. Tell us about some, especially the Night of Hollow Songs.
The Night of Hollow Songs is probably the most intense. Once a year, the entire region goes utterly silent for one night. Sound is banned. The dead are said to walk unseen among the trees.
A whole night of total silence.
Collective, profound quiet. There's also Gloam Wine Communion, a harvest ritual for grief and resilience. They pass the special wine, and each sip is taken in memory of one unspoken truth learned that year.
Unspoken truth.
Right. And the masking of memory, midsummer. Kids and elders reenact these hollow tales, half-true stories where the moral has to be guessed, not explained. It all reinforces that ethos. Silence is not absence. It is reverence.
Okay, finally, their military strategy. No standing army, these shadow units. How does that work for defense? Especially with myths like the Battle of Hollow Echoes, an army vanishing in the mist.
It's all about psychology and using their environment. No standing army, just these shattered units drawn from local king groups when needed.
Like who?
The Veil-bound, elite scouts, saboteurs, operate in total silence, use mask glyphs, bone knives, known for ritual fasting before missions.
Okay.
The Gloom Wardens. They're semi-permanent defenders near sacred sites, use throat drums for coded messages across distances.
Throat drums for signals. Cool.
And what's really fascinating is the memory-born, not really a unit, but veterans who retell past battles in these coded story songs to predict future outcomes.
Using stories to predict battles.
Yeah. Their whole doctrine is defensive, deceptive, psychological. Their motto is basically, if they never see us, they never knew where to strike.
So avoid direct confrontation.
Absolutely. Warfare is a last resort. It involves false trails, whispered threats, weaponizing fear, ambushes under fog cover, often luring enemies into cursed groves where the land itself is said to be listening. Victory is about dissuading them, distorting their reality.
And that battle myth. Hollow Echoes.
The story goes a hostile army marched into the mist and just never came out. The Rovaran elders claim the land itself rejected them. Their strength isn't numbers, it's their deep knowledge of their terrain, their ability to manipulate it, and the psychological impact of the unseen, the unknown.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for us? We've just taken this incredible deep dive into Rovara, a place where identity is secrets, wisdom flows through silence, and everything links back to memory and the land.
Yeah, Rovara really does challenge our usual ways of thinking, doesn't it? About society, government, even just talking to each other. It makes you consider the power of the unspoken, the weight of reputation versus just, stuff. How a deep connection to history, to place, can forge this incredibly resilient identity. And it leaves us with a pretty big question, I think. In our own world, which is just saturated with information, endless noise, what truths might we be missing simply because we've forgotten how to really listen to the silence?
That's a powerful thought.
What could we gain if we, too, learn to value what the land remembers, or the insights that only come in quiet reflection instead of always just looking for the loudest voice in the room?